Hey, how are you? This is Aaron McKay with Bird Be Gone coming at you with another installment of Ask an Expert. I have the privilege to be joined today by William Bond, Billy Bond, Bill Bond, and Sean Johnson. So no, there are not 6 people on the call. There are only 3 of us. So how are you gentlemen doing?
Good. Me,
Wonderful.
myself, and I are great.
So how's the world of bird control treating you these days as you talk to homeowners and DIY users? What's the scoop? What's the skinny? What kind of calls have you guys been having?
It's good.
They're
Really busy.
I mean, it's crazy times right now, and everybody's at home with bird problems. So calls have definitely picked up quite a bit, ranging from problems with geese, geese all over their lawns right now is a popular one. Woodpecker control is always pretty popular around this time of year, and everything else in between.
Wow. Well, Sean, I don't know if you read my mind, but that is a wonderful segue because today we are talking about everyone's favorites, particularly homeowners' favorite. They love it when woodpeckers drill into the side of their house when they're on a Zoom call trying to close the deal. So let's talk about some woodpeckers. So first things first, if a woodpecker is on my house, I'm a homeowner, can I just whip out the good old BB gun that Joey has under his bed and dispatch the problem? Because when I have phone calls with homeowners, that's typically one of the first things that's suggested. So why might you or might you not encourage them to do that?
Yeah, no, it depends on which state they're in. No, I'm just kidding. It really is they're a protected bird, so they're not allowed to do that, even if you're out in the country. As much as you would like to, like Aaron is talking about, they're protected. So the temptation needs to be fought because, again, if any neighbor or anybody around catches you taking these things out, you could get hit with a fine that was set in motion a good long time ago.
Yep. Yeah, everyone's favorite to talk about the Federal Migratory Bird Treaty Act. You can say that 3 times fast the next time you're playing Jeopardy. So woodpeckers are a protected species. You cannot, unfortunately or fortunately, depending on your your love of birds or hatred of birds, you cannot shoot them. So it is that time of year where we do get a spike in woodpecker calls, and typically it happens a couple times a year. So I don't know if either of you guys can enlighten our listeners. Why do there seem to be certain seasons of the year when woodpeckers and their activity increase?
Well, first off, they're migratory birds, so they're going to migrate north in the wintertime, or sorry, backwards, north in the summertime and then back south in the wintertime. So it's obviously going to hit certain areas at different times than other areas. Also, they have mating seasons, and get very active during these mating seasons. Territorial for one, and then actively pecking on things to try to attack mates as well.
And that, again, Sean, is a great segue, because when homeowners call in, they're usually, and they're calling in about woodpeckers, they're usually kind of at their wit's end, and they somehow want to get into the psychology of the bird. Why is the bird pecking on my aluminum vent for my bathroom at 5 in the morning? So you kind of mentioned a little bit already, but why do woodpeckers peck?
Well, yeah, it's like as we kind of already mentioned, it's usually at specific times of the year in mating season. They're trying to attract mates. It's kind of their mating call to attract a female mate during this time of year. Another reason why they might be doing it would be looking for carpenter bees or insects in the wood, or it's a territorial thing as well.
Yep, there you go. So I am Joe or Jane homeowner, and I am at my wit's end. I haven't gotten sleep, or my conference calls keep on getting interrupted by woodpeckers. What do I do? So I call and I talk to you, Bill. How are you going to help me through this traumatic experience?
Well, Jane, how long has this been going on? is usually a question that I'll ask, because that will at least help me assess what's going to be effective. And then another question I'll ask is, have you tried anything yet? Because for, like we've mentioned, or like we've talked about, woodpeckers is one of the most intrusive in our lives. You know, some people in homeowner situations, they've just got a chirping bird that they'd like to take care of, or they see the results of birds hanging out with the bird droppings on the floor. Woodpeckers is unique because it is very clear that they're there. So oftentimes people will have tried something this way or another. So I like to just get a read on what is working, what's not working. So oftentimes people will go to YouTube, or they'll go to a Google search, and they'll say, hey, what do I do for woodpeckers? Oftentimes it's stringing up CDs or stringing up foil, doing this or that. And they're disappointed for a number of reasons, that their house looks very odd now with CDs and foil hanging everywhere. So, but it's still not taking care of the woodpecker issue, right? So, but oftentimes if they haven't tried anything yet, I will actually advise them to kind of scale up to some of the more expensive deterrents for woodpeckers. But I'll usually suggest that we start with something like a low-cost visual, or a low-cost audio, something like the low-end deterrents that we have that are low cost, because that could solve your issue right there. That could be something that doesn't cost you more than $10 to solve an issue that's been driving you crazy. So just in general, the woodpecker can be a really skittish and scared bird. So if we can catch them at the right time, they haven't really established themselves, we can take care of the issue.
Yep, that's good. And Sean, maybe if you could kind of walk us up the ladder of woodpecker control, because we do have some highly effective and affordable solutions. Maybe if the woodpecker hasn't been on the structure for a really, really long time. But as you kind of go up that ladder, we have some highly effective, more cost-intensive solutions that can solve a woodpecker issue that's been on that structure for a longer period of time. So maybe talk us through all the available options we have, Sean.
Sure, absolutely. First, like Billy said, best place to start is the low-cost visual deterrent. And the best thing for visual deterrents on woodpeckers is something that's going to provide as much movement and fluttering and light reflection as possible. Nothing that's stationary. A stationary hawk or a stationary owl that's just going to sit in one spot for weeks. Woodpeckers are smarter than that. They're going to catch on that that's not real. It's not going to be effective. So best thing to start is, I always recommend, is a nice roll of our Mylar flash tape. It comes in a couple different size rolls that we sell it in. But what you want to do is hang it in about 3-foot strips and let it hang freely and flutter in the area where you're having problems with the woodpeckers. If that's not working, then you want to start looking at a step up. You want to start maybe looking at some sound deterrents. We have a sound deterrent called the Bird Chase Supersonic that's going to has a specific setting on it for woodpeckers, and it's going to play a combination of a woodpecker distress calls that they make when they sense danger and predators in the area, as well as filter in some predator, hawk, and owl calls as well, just to make them feel like it's an unsafe environment and habitat to be in. And a lot of time that's enough to drive them out of an area. And the best thing about those units is they're large enough to cover up to an acre.
Yeah.
So a lot of times you just need one of them, and it's enough to cover your entire house.
That's good.
And the visual and the sounds aren't working. The most expensive but very effective product that we do sell is going to be our BeakGuard woodpecker paint. And it's just it's an acrylic based paint that hardens the surface that it's applied to, then also has a smell and taste deterrent in it as well, that's effective in chasing away the woodpeckers.
That's good. And Sean, or maybe Billy, if you want to jump in, because we do have BeakGuard conversations fairly regularly. Oftentimes people are calling in and they have structures that maybe have a softer facade or a softer building material that's used as a siding of the structure. I know personally that would be one of the questions I would usually ask when talking to a homeowner about woodpeckers. So why does the softness or the hardness of the side of that home matter when it comes to BeakGuard?
Yeah, simply put, they'll just peck right through it. So this elastomeric paint is it is dependent on a harder surface. So it will release those chemicals that will agitate the woodpecker as it's pecking onto a surface. And if it does not allow the opportunity for it to bounce back or release that chemical, it just pecks right through. Then what you've done is you've just applied another new coat of paint for no reason. So it's really an agitating thing, and one that I will, like you mentioned, it's going to be one of the first things that I talk about or ask about when we are in the BeakGuard subject or solution, talking about that being a solution, is what does the surface look like? If it's foam, if it's stucco, then we have to go a different direction, most likely into the avian block direction, because we can still solve it the same way with that aroma. We just have to do it a different with a different product. But yeah, oftentimes most homes, honestly, unless they're really out there, they don't have cedar siding. They don't have wood sidings everywhere. They'll have stucco. So oftentimes we'll go into the avian block conversation from there.
Yep. And that's typical for us because we are a company that's based in Southern California. So in the Southwest, we have building trends around kind of Spanish style homes with a lot of stucco. There are portions of the southeastern U.S. and the Mid-Atlantic that use a product called ethos, which is a foam based material that simulates wood type products. But I know, Bill, you brought up avian block. Maybe Sean, if you want to jump in and tell people a little bit more fully about what that product is and how it works.
Sure. Yeah, avian block is one I forgot to mention when I was discussing different products, but it is a newer product for us, so it's not always at the top of my mind like some of our core products have been. But it's an awesome product. So it's got an ingredient called methylantranolate, which is a known repellent for pretty much all species of birds if they breathe it in or ingest it. So it delivers. It's a little pouch that has methylantranolate inside of it in a granular form, and it's able to deliver it deliver the methylantranolate in a method that's not in a liquid spray. It just sort of passes through the air and slowly disintegrates through time.
Yep. That's good. And for people that maybe haven't, I mean, homeowners and DIYers, they may have never heard of methylantranolate before. And the idea of, potentially breathing something in that might have a negative effect on them. It's just methylantranolate is actually used as an active ingredient, or if you, again, want to dominate your next trivia game, it's used as a tincture. That's a 25-cent word, a tincture or a food flavoring, and a lot of great flavored products that humans eat. So it's actually used as an ingredient in the food that we eat, but when birds inhale it or ingest it, just irritates them. They don't like it. And I think the cool thing that I'm excited about when it comes to Woodpecker Control and avian block is that the pouch is about the size of the palm of your hand, right? So you can really hang it in a non-visible place on your structure in proximity to where the birds are pecking at your home. And you'll see them move off in pretty short order. So when it comes to Woodpecker Control, we're pretty excited about what avian block is bringing to the table. So as a way to close this out, any parting comments? If you can help homeowners through this video when it comes to Woodpecker Control or this podcast before they actually call and look for support, what would be kind of a parting piece of advice you'd give them?
Get them fast. Get them before they establish a home and a territory. Quicker you can get some product up there and address them, the better chance you have of solving the problem.
Yep, that's great.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I would say, we have to keep an eye on it, right? So whether we're just starting with a visual deterrent, just make sure you don't give up on the situation. I would say when we're applying these things, nothing's guaranteed. And as irritating and annoying as these situations can be, we're trying our best, but there are no guarantees. So we got to keep an eye on it. We got to keep on it, and oftentimes pivot, use different deterrents. So it's not hopeless, but we gotta stay on top of it. So
yep, that's good. Well, gentlemen, as always, it's been a pleasure. I appreciate you taking the time to talk about everybody's favorite subject, woodpeckers. We'll see you guys in the next installment. Have a good one.
My pleasure. Later.